Tyler again from Mycopolitan Mushrooms, and here we are at a tree yard. Where are we, in Montgomery County?
Montgomery County,
Montgomery
correct.
County. This is sort of a magical place. This is one of my favorite pastimes, is looking through a tree yard like this where a bunch of arborists drop off their logs. Large, long, full-length logs. And you can see sometimes there's stuff growing. Sometimes you can tell by the way the wood looks what species of mushroom is digesting that wood, and whether there's some potential, value in food and medicine in there. So let's take a look at what we have. Oh, a mushroom. Go figure. So, I'm actually not too sure what that is. It looks like a Pluteus. It's got salmon-colored spores. Not a species I'm familiar with, though, but in the genus Pluteus, I would think. I'm gonna pop that off. There's some edible ones in Pluteus, some psychedelic mushrooms in the Pluteus genus. Most of them are not that great for eating, but pretty common. You can see some detail on that.
Right.
Gills underneath. So, yeah, we're gonna take a look through here and see what we can spot. I see a lot of pine. Oak. Some kind of really strong mycelium holding this wood together. Got a good smell. My hands already smell from that Berkeley's Polypore, so I'm gonna throw things off.
What about something like this log up here, Tyler? It's just covered with, that bark is just covered with that.
Oh yeah, those. So, I often overlook these.
Is that turkey? What is that,
these
turkey?
These are turkey tails. Yep. Yep. And so there's a common look-alike to turkey tails that's a little bit more common than turkey tails themselves, called Myscelium. And the way you tell them apart, the best way is turkey tail pores. These are kind of old, but you can see the pores. You can see the holes. You kind of move it, and the way the light hits it, you can see those little tiny holes that are in there. That's where the spores are produced. Myscelium doesn't really have visible pores, much thinner. So, yeah, turkey tails, one of the most important medicinal mushrooms, really wonderful for the immune system, has antiviral properties as well, and ubiquitous. It's everywhere. This stuff is growing all over the place, and it's another polypore, so there's no poisonous lookalikes.
Let me ask you a question.
Yep.
A log like that, to me, it looks like it's sitting up here in this pile and it's drying out, and,
Yeah.
and that mycelium is going to die.
Yeah.
Do you think that a log like that is rescuable? Could you take that home and soak it in some water and freshen it up a little bit?
I think so. We're in July now, so things are really starting to dry out. But especially stuff that's sort of towards the bottom of the stack, that'll probably make it through the summer as long as there's not a drought. Because the stuff up top is going to be insulating it. But yeah, stuff that's just sitting in the sun, good luck.
Yeah, but it's insulating. It's also keeping the water. It's also, unless you get these, it's
Big
also
storms.
keeping the water from making its way down to the bottom of the stack.
Yeah, you're definitely right. It's like it's under threat from dryness. Mycelium, any kind of fungal tissue is going to be over 90% water. So once you start.
So do you think
away.
that's rescuable? Could we take a chainsaw and take that home and drop it in the ground?
So. These logs, that does sound pretty dry, but
It's probably been under
so
there a
dense
while.
that
That's
it's going to
big.
store some. It's
That's
gonna
a
store
big
some
pile.
water in it.
That's cool.
And here, this is something interesting too. Why don't you zoom in over here? So
There's
I used to think this
plastic
stuff.
bag.
See this black stuff here?
Yes.
I used to think that was just roots.
No.
Do you know what that is?
That's I don't know the name of it, but I know when a tree has that on there,
Good luck.
that thing's falling down pretty damn soon. You can't trust them. Is it Armillaria?
Yeah, you got it. Yep. So honey mushroom, Armillaria, Melia, and Ostayi. I don't know how to say the other species, but the biggest organism in the world is a honey mushroom out in Oregon, and you can see why it's so tenacious. I mean, this is rhizomorphic mycelium that turns black.
Keep your hand still for a second.
Yeah. It's rhizomorphic mycelium, meaning root-like mycelium, a very aggressive, fast-moving form of mycelium. and this species is the most aggressive of any mushroom species. But if you think about that, you know, if you have a property with trees that are getting taken over by honey mushrooms, or you have an arboretum or something like that, that's a big problem. But as far as an untapped and untouched ecosystem, these things provide a new habitat, and that's a meadow. So it's actually really, really important for a natural ecosystem to have these meadows where a whole lot more diversity of life can exist. So, you know, it might be a plague of you know, landowners, but definitely a boon for arborists and for the natural ecosystem as well. And the oyster and honey mushrooms are pretty delicious. They're good.
So would they be growing? Is that an old one way back in there, like an old rotted one? See what I'm talking
That's
about?
something else. So a lot of times, honey mushrooms are kind of non-discerning. They'll just kind of tear through whatever material is left. So that might have been something else. That's, oh, you know what that is? That is Mycopolitan. That's a black staining polypore. Another really good meaty polypore that I'm interested in growing. You can tell because it's kind of turning black. So that probably grew like a week ago or so. And we got a friend here.
What's up, buddy?
So yeah, black staining polypore and honey mushroom mycelium.
How's it going?
Hey, how you doing? They're extremely nutritious. You know, minerals, potassium, B vitamins, all that stuff.
D, vitamin D.
Vitamin D. Yeah, you take like shiitakes and you put them out. You can dry them out in the sun for a day, and they produce like tons of vitamin D too. So you can kind of like dry them out in the summer and then eat them in the winter when you're not getting vitamin D. And then like a lot of medicinal value too, like support the immune system, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-cancer, and it's just anything you can imagine. So when you look for chicken mushrooms, you look for it in oak, you know, these large diameter oak. It seems like there's a lot of like black oak maybe down here. And you'll look for like thick tracts of white mycelium in this wood, and the wood will start to kind of turn more of a reddish color than brown. So this is not an example of that, but I hope somewhere along the way here we could find that. That's possible, but that's pretty...
I see some white in that one crack right there. You're gonna have a hard time digging that one out from the pile, dude. You know?
Hey, again, I used the sniff test. So chicken mushroom mycelium will have a butterscotch smell.
Ooh, watch your head, bro. We heard that. So it's almost like a... what do we got here?
A couple feet down. So when you see a tree that's... This looks like it was poplar, right? Tulip poplar?
No, I don't think so.
No? That bark.
Oh, yeah, maybe it was. Yeah. I gotcha, yeah.
Very clear white rot. And the wood's still kind of hard on the outside. And then this is a clear giveaway. There's an old oyster mushroom. And so when you see a log that looks like this, that's, you know, going to be pushing off pounds and pounds of oyster mushrooms.
How old?
Years.
How old?
How old are these mushrooms?
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you think? Again, I just worry about this thing drying out and dying down here at the bottom of this wood pile.
Well, these are, you know, I would say this is no more than a month or two old.
Okay, so it's still active.
The critters will get to it. They're already getting to it. But
I
it's so dry right now. It's summer that, you know.
And it's not getting any. Believe it or not, I don't think it's getting. Well, maybe it is because this is kind of a little bit more open than the rest of the pile. So, what if we took a chainsaw and cut that off?
Yeah.
Dropped it in the backyard. Would that then produce mushrooms for us?
Sure will, yeah. And then once the mushrooms are done growing, you're building up humus, building up soil.
Because I have like a creek in my backyard area. You know what I mean?
That's a great spot. Yeah, floodplains are great for mushrooms.
Right.
Any area that floods but then has good drainage and dries out.
What time of year do you think they'll
Oysters are more of a spring and fall mushroom.
Cool.
They can grow, but they can even grow in the winter if there's a little warm spell, and they can grow in the summer if there's a cool spell. They're pretty. They like to grow. Hard to get them not to grow.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. So let's keep working our way down.
Yeah.
Damn, look at this thing. That's got to be an oak.
You would think so.
Yeah, it's a red oak.
To me, that's a $3,000 oak. I don't know what red, black, white, doesn't matter. It's $3,000 to cut that tree down. What do we got growing up there?
That might be another Berkeley's. We have another Berkeley's Polypore. So we got 2 strains of this today.
Sweet.
See the kind of yellow orangish, but not too bright on the top. So it's not a chicken, and then those big pores. So it's not a chicken, it's a Berkeley's. Nice young one. So a lot of times the weather conditions are just right for a certain species to grow. And if you find one, you should just keep driving around to other locations and you're likely to find more.
Are you taking that other one home to ID it? Is that the idea? You want to ID this one?
Yeah, I might just chuck it. So here we have some.
Unfortunately, you probably can't get behind.
Is that cherry?
But there's actually a row of logs behind that row that's been there for over a year.
In the back? There's no way to get back there?
Well, I mean, you can climb on top of them, I guess.
Nah, I don't. Well,
When you get to the end, it's directly behind that row. It's a whole another row that's been there for about a year.
Huh.
cool. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that is a cherry.
Yeah, so chickens grow in cherry all the time too. So oaks, cherry, locust, which you don't want to eat off of the locust, and also willow and ash too. So this is chicken mushroom, mycelium, but see, this is pretty far progressed. It's sort of got that butterscotchy smell, and the bugs are getting to it. So it's a lot of beetles. So beetles, a lot of them don't eat the wood. They carve the mycelium out. The mycelium grows back. They carve the mycelium out. They eat the mycelium, and they're sort of farming mycelium, and that's where all those holes come from. I think that's beetles. I don't know. You might know better than me. But beetles love mycelium, and chicken mushrooms produce a lot of mycelium. So
Cool.
this looks like the same part of the same tree. Yep.
And what do we got hanging up in there? What is all that? That's just the rotted wood, or is there mushrooms hanging there?
That looks like roots. That looks like plant roots.
No?
No?
No, I'm talking about this stuff hanging
That
over
stuff
here.
hanging over there. Yeah, that looks like. So this might be more of like a crust fungus that's sort of peeling off. I guess
Right.
it's hard to see.
All right, we're gonna keep walking here.
Yeah, might as well, right? Damn, look at all that giant stack over there. So. Oh yeah, we can get back here. Yeah, it's a whole other row. That white on there, I think that's an old chicken mushroom.
Yeah.
They turn, they'll persist to the next year, but this is white.
Right.
So that log looks pretty young too. So that would be a good candidate for growing pounds and pounds of chicken mushrooms every year. The species is it's Trametes versicolor. Versicolor meaning that it has a variety of colors in the mushroom. And so that's the best way to identify it, is that it'll be at least 2 different shades. So this one's pretty pale, but
I mean, I've seen big ones growing.
so this one has a little bit of algae growing on it, but you can sort of see, like, especially towards the edge, there's a little orange, there's a little bit of like bluish purple. Here's one that grew, and look, there's some babies forming off of it. So you can tell this log was positioned one way, probably vertical, and then obviously it ended up horizontal in this stack, and some little tiny baby turkey tails kept growing off of it in another direction.
That's totally cool.
So they orient with gravity and sunlight.
Cool. I'll take a bite.
So you really got to boil it to get the good stuff out, but yeah, why not chew a little bit? It's everywhere. Cool.
Cool. Nice.
No. All right. All I want to do is work. We walked to the back of this stack here, and sometimes you got to go to both sides to see an end from either side. And here we got another log, red oak, and so we have very clear chicken mushroom mycelium here. You can tell from the cracking in the wood, the redness of the wood, that's the lignin. The mycelium eats the cellulose, and it leaves the lignin behind. And so the other giveaway is these long sheets of mycelium. I call them mycelial highways that run up and down the cracks. So that's sort of what spreads throughout the tree and spreads the mycelium then into the wider network. But the mycelium just shoots up these cracks. And I just pulled this out of there. So you often find stuff like this inside the tree as well. And so this is, you know, maybe another mycelial highway. This could be a cavity that a beetle or some other insect carved out, got larger and larger as it was eating the successive harvests of mycelium, and then that space gets filled up by the mycelium. But it's pretty tough. It's for light material. It's pretty strong, really strong. So that's chicken mushroom mycelium right there. So, how heavy would you say this log is? A ton? Couple tons?
I don't know how far back it goes there, but it's a pretty old big piece of wood. Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's gonna. You're not gonna be able to pick that up with a little tractor. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, you need something like that. PT30 could never handle anything close to that.
Yeah.
So, I would say at least 2,000, but depending on how long it could be 3,000, 3,500. I mean,
yeah.
It's tough to say exactly. You know.
So this might be a good candidate for, you know, for people that own a tree yard, that run a tree yard, just trying to grow some mushrooms in the shade. If you have a shady location on your yard, just put this guy in contact with the ground and check on it. It's easy to see them. They're big, bright orange mushrooms, and why not? Bonus harvest. Better than just being mulch or firewood.
What is this?
So this is something in the Trametes genus, which is the turkey-tailed genus, and it very well could be a turkey tail. You know, it's you usually don't find them this big, but I'm not too sure. You know, it's either a turkey tail or something very closely related. There's also not a huge range in colors I'm seeing, but there is a little bit of, you know, ochre color and a little bit of green in there as well. So this very well could be a turkey tail, and if it is, it's a nice one. These are nice big fruits for a turkey tail. Two mushrooms in the Trametes genus. This is some kind of Trametes. Could be a versicolor turkey tail, the true turkey tail. But down here we definitely have a true turkey tail. You can tell by the purplish color in there. So there's purples, there's blues, there's greens, there's kind of gold. So these are pretty young turkey tails, and it's dry out, so they're completely dry. But they'll keep growing once they get rehydrated again, once it rains. You know, one of the few mushrooms that can kind of grow that way.
Cool.
Pretty.
So would you, if you had a chainsaw, would you take a piece off the end of that and just drop it in the ground and let it keep growing?
Sure, why not? I mean, turkey tails are everywhere, so you could also just kind of leave them in the stack and come back and harvest the mushrooms themselves just on the site. But yeah, I mean, if you find a log that's got like a really nice strain of turkey tails, it's producing a lot, then why not cut it up and take it out? Just grabbed a chunk of wood off of an old oak. And I think what we have here, well, we definitely have chicken mushroom mycelium growing on this side. You see that kind of pale red color? Oh yeah. And the smell is like butterscotch. I don't know how else to describe it. Sweet smelling. Probably my favorite smelling mycelium. And on this side, so just flip it over. On this side, this looks like a white rot. So there's one of two things happening here. And it doesn't smell like the butterscotch. It doesn't smell like chicken. What I think is happening is that right here is the interface between two different species. We have chicken on this side and we have some white rot fungus on this side. Or perhaps this is just deeper into the heartwood and there's a lot less lignin, and therefore there's just a lot less of the reddish color. But I'm pretty sure it's the former, because it doesn't smell like chicken mushroom mycelium. So a lot of times, you know, there'll be one mushroom infecting a tree from one side and then another infecting it from the other side, and they're gonna meet in the middle somewhere and just not cross over. So that's sort of most likely a line that's bifurcating two different species.
Any chance that could inhibit the chicken's ability to fruit?
Well, it just means that there's less substrate available to the chicken. But, you know, I think 2,000 pounds is enough. So, yeah. So one thing I could do, actually, if I want to tell if this is two distinct species, I can, you know, with a scalpel in front of a flow hood, open this up, try to get a clean piece out of this side and then a clean piece of mycelium off of this side, put them down on the same plate, on the same petri dish, on opposite sides, and we'll see if they grow together and they make a similar line bifurcation. There's another name for it, I can't remember. But that'll tell us that it's two different species, or at least two different strains, but in this case it would be two different species. So I'll probably do that. We'll see what happens.